Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings, salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, a weekly show where we introduce you to some of the best creators from all over the world, and we find out more about them by taking your questions. I'm your host, Ryan of And I Quote channel, and before I introduce you to our guests, I'd just like to let you fine folks out there know in cyberspace, the following takes place between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Events occur in real time. Please welcome author extraordinaire and someone who is just keeping us riveted with his incredible storytelling with the Body Man series, et cetera, et cetera. He's finally here. We've been trying to get this on the air for so long, and he's finally in the building. Eric P. Bishop is in the house. Hello, good sir. How are you?
I'm in my house, and I'm doing good. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I walked right into that one. But we're happy that you are here, Eric P. Bishop. We're also happy that you are here, who may be watching and listening to this program right now. So treat yourself by liking and sharing this video with your closest friends. If you're watching us live or what is known as a replay, thank you for doing so. If you have any questions for Eric P. Bishop, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. More than happy to take those as they come in respectively. With all that business out of the way, Eric, what would you say were some of your favorite books or authors growing up as a youngin'?
You know, I mentioned it in the acknowledgments, and I kind of repeat them ad nauseum, I guess, with each book. Really, Tom Clancy's kind of the one that started it for me. My dad worked for the phone company growing up, and so he has spent a lot of time inside manholes and inside bucket trucks and in the cab of a truck, not working, reading books, apparently. Thank you, phone company up in New England. And he would bring home these tattered paperbacks, and I don't recall which one it was. It was one of Clancy's early books, obviously, but the first one I remember that really stuck with me was a Tom Clancy book. And I thought, man, I need to read more of this. And so would read the entire series. Of course, it was more than just Clancy, W.E.B. Griffith, and all kinds of authors like that. And then eventually when I started writing, that's what I gravitated towards. And then when I got older, I'd start reading in college, like Vince Flynn. What I liked about that, and I've talked about this in other interviews, is Clancy gave you the phone book. Like if you wanted to know how a nuclear submarine worked, Clancy pretty much gave foreign governments a great blueprint almost in his written words. And what Vince did was he told you about the sub and kind of how it worked, but he did it in 5 pages versus 50 pages. So I really loved the Vince Flynn side of it because he got to the chase a lot better. Even though I loved Clancy, Flynn became my guy. And that's when I especially started writing. That's where I wanted to be. So when I get comparisons to this day to like Vince Flynn, you pretty much can't give me a bigger compliment than say Vince Flynn's name. So
Good point. Good point. Good names too. Nothing wrong with those whatsoever. Do you have any favorite TV series, past or present, that stand out?
I grew up in the 80s, so I was definitely an 80s child. So, you know, we had the A-Team, we had MacGyver, Airwolf, and then my mom used to keep me up with her on, I guess it was Friday or Saturday nights. I can't remember now. It was so many years ago. And I used to watch a lot of the trashy, like Dallas and Falcon Crest and Knots Landing and all these like really like trashy nighttime soap operas, which is probably where you get like Kat's sarcasm and Mercy's kind of some of the things that comes out of her mouth. I think you probably get from those trashy evening soap operas. But yeah, a lot of television growing up. Obviously, watch wrestling on Saturday mornings, and you know, the normal stuff, I guess you could say.
I got you. Speaking of Falcon Crest, I had the pleasure of sitting down and talking with Morgan Fairchild a couple of years ago at a show. Yeah. I was at a convention. Yeah, she was, by the way, she's a wonderful human being. Still beautiful to this day. Very gorgeous. And I asked her, what was it like working with James Brolin and Paul Rubens on Pee-wee's Big Adventure back in '85? And she says, Paul Rubens is the most creative person I've ever met. He is so good at what he does. And then what was it like working with Josh as the meta version of Pee-wee? And he says, oh, he was great. He was fantastic. I loved working with him, and because I looked at her and I said, "You were very beautiful as the meta version of Dottie in the film," and I just gotta tell you, you did a wonderful job. I thought. She's like, "Oh, thanks." And then I asked her a follow-up question to that. I said, "What was it like working with Mariska Hargitay on SVU? Because you were a guest star at one point." Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Oh, it was great. I've known Mariska for years." And the other thing was, I knew her mother, Jane Mansfield, and I actually told Mariska stories about her own mother that she didn't know before.
Wow!
And I was like, "Whoa." Morgan Fairchild has got a fountain of knowledge in that noggin. So that was pretty darn cool. She signed my Pee Wee's Big Adventure DVD, Eric. It was fun.
That's pretty cool. So how'd that happen? You were just at a conference?
Well, I was at a comic, as they call these things, Comic-Cons, a comic book convention.
Okay,
yeah. They've been around for generations. This one particularly is called the Mid-Atlantic Nostalgia Convention, which was previously held in Hunt Valley, but they moved it to Towson, Maryland, more specifically. And that's where I met Morgan Fairchild. I met Robert Wagner.
Wow.
Speaking of, classic shows, Heart to Heart.
Heart to Heart, yeah.
I mean, granted, I know him better as number 2 from the Austin Powers series because I'm a 90s kid. I'm sorry. Just a tad younger than Eric here. Just a little bit.
I was in high school in the 90s. And then
I'm just saying.
In the 90s, so,
I'm just saying. Robert Wagner was there. Who else did I have a conversation with? I had a conversation with so many people. Peter Riegert at one point I spoke with. Gosh, I'm forgetting his name, but he played the Gill Man in the original Creature from the Black Lagoon in 1954. I forget his name though, but something Browning. Anyway, he was very nice. He was very, very nice. A lot of people, elderly, so they can't move around or talk as much. But it's, great person, great human being, and I got a chance to meet some of the Bond girls from previous iterations of the Bond franchise at these types of shows. So that's been, we aim to please, as my favorite James Bond, Pierce Brosnan would say. That's funny. Because that's the first one that personally I ever saw was GoldenEye. That was the first one I ever saw. Yeah. So,
I thought he was a great James Bond. I've got the full collection I've got the full Blu-ray of all of them, and he did. Daniel Craig, when it first was announced and all that, I'm like, what are they doing? And then, but personally, I mean, Daniel Craig killed it every time. I thought he did a great job as Bond. Actually, I don't know what they're going to do next, but Daniel Craig was pretty good. So
that's the big question. Who is going to be the next James Bond? That's one of the biggest questions in the interwebs
Not
right
me.
now.
Tell you that.
It's not going to be Eric P. Bishop or myself, but hey, a person can dream, can they? And it's funny you mentioned that because Daniel Craig's Casino Royale turns 20 this year.
That's wild.
And in November, my friends and I are going to be sitting here in our virtual studios. We're going to do a movie anniversary watch along for Casino Royale because we're big Casino Royale fans, of course, myself included. So yeah, it'll be fun. We do that every Friday night, 7:00. We watch a movie that is turned a certain age that particular year or week, month, whatever, and we just sit down. We watch it on physical media or streaming service on our own devices because obviously we can't show it here because that's copyright. But we encourage people. We give people timestamps every couple of minutes to say, hey, if you're just joining us, cue it up to so and so Mark and comment down below in the chat. We just celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Outlaw Josie Wales.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have take for granted the fact of the entertainment that's out there. That's what's been put out for film now for more than 50 years is pretty remarkable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it very much is. It very much is, and that kind of segues into my next question here because we kind of mentioned a few of our favorites. Any other favorite movies, past or present, stand out to you?
Ooh, man, I got a list of them. I'm getting to see one of them, the set in about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. I'll be in Matamata, New Zealand. I will be at Hobbiton. I have it booked, and we have the half day tour of Hobbiton booked. I was literally I'm looking at my couch across the way. I was out with my buddy this morning, and we were booking our flights coming from New Zealand into Australia, and then within Australia, we hadn't booked those. We bought the big ones a while ago into New Zealand, out of Australia, and we booked Hobbiton back in like May. So that one, I was like, I'm not missing out. I will miss my flight. I will go to Hobbiton one way or another. So, Lord of the Rings. I really enjoyed Lord of the Rings, but my tastes are so varied. I like Billy Madison.
There you go.
But then, Usual Suspects is one of my favorite movies. Braveheart's one of my favorite movies. Terminator 2. So I have a DVD collection over on the
you do?
wall. I've got a bazillion of them, and I don't watch many of them very often anymore because I write, but every now, that's a cool thing as a dad I've been able to do is once my son was old enough to start watching like R-rated movies, not dirty R-rated movies, but violent and all this and that, I started just going through the big ones with him. Like, this is The Rock. This is Sean Connery. This is one of the coolest movies ever.
It is. I agree.
Oh man, just stuff like that. So I was a movie buff until I started writing, and I'm still a movie lover.
Mm-hmm.
But I've talked about this on many interviews on my channel and other people's. I had to give something up to write, and what I had to give up was regular television watching. Not that I'd never watch anything. Like, I'll watch something at night if I don't have my kids while I'm eating dinner. But once that meal's done, once that episode of whatever's done, the TV goes off, and then it's back to writing. So, because that writing time is precious, and to get it done, I have to give something up, and to give it up is really. I was sleep early on, which wasn't a good idea, so I got myself physically not feeling well. So I finally had to say, hey, let's get rid of entertainment for a while. So entertainment's kind of my dessert every now and then, but it's not as often as it was when I was in my 20s and early 30s.
Yeah, gotcha. Great picks, though, man. Great picks. Because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. We were talking about plans for what we want to celebrate in terms of movies for next year's season of Movie Watch Along. Like I said, we do it every Friday night. And I said, what year did The Rock come out? And then he told me it was like a year or so before. I was like, oh, darn it, we missed it. I got to wait 2 years to celebrate The Rock. Are you kidding me? But then he looks at me and he's like, well, Con Air. We could celebrate Con Air next year because that turns 30. And I'm like, well, yeah, I kind of like The Rock more than Con Air, but I get it. Con
Air is a solid one, and I feel remiss now. So my favorite movie of all, because I don't like list of favorites because I'll leave something out and it changes,
right, which is fine. Yeah,
considering when I grew up in the time period, and the movie that I watched the most times growing up was Back to the Future. And so it actually played last year around my birthday in November at a movie theater here. One of the old school slanted
movie houses,
no stadium seating,
really
theater. And I took my daughter and did we take my nephew? I think it was just my daughter on that one. Might have been my nephew too. I think it was my daughter and my nephew. Took it to see Back to the Future in the old theater for whatever it was, the 40th, 38th, 39th, whatever it was. A big anniversary.
40th, actually.
Oh, freaking cool. It was so cool to see it in the theater because I remember going to see it as a kid. And then we literally just watched it like a couple times a week growing up, when I was a kid. It was what you played.
It was the rage. Yeah. It was everywhere. Yeah. Good stuff. Yep. I grew up watching on VHS, and then when they did the re-release for its 30th or 35th anniversary, I went to theater with a friend of mine at the time, and we saw all three back to back all in one night. I'm dead serious. We saw the whole trilogy, and it's not easy, right? It's not easy because you got to take. But the good news is they took breaks in between the three films, right? So we would have like a 30, 40-minute break to go and get concessions, to go to the bathroom, because Lord knows we're gonna have to go to the bathroom after watching a 2-hour movie. Hello, guys, wake up and smell the coffee. Right. But yeah, no, Back to the Future is in my. I think it's in my top 10 of all time. I think it pretty much. I mean, it has to be because it's
my camera won't get it very well, but I have the full DeLorean. It's actually still in the box. I have not.
Oh my gosh!
And then I have the small one up there that I built the small one with my son. But my son keeps saying like, "You bought the full DeLorean and you haven't built it." I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to build it. I think it's just going to maybe years from now I might. But
my Lord, that's 1.21 gigawatts of. Excellence right there. What the hell is a gigawatt? I could have been so careless. I can't help it. I've seen this movie countless. You and I have seen this movie hundreds of thousands of times. And to me, it's just, it's endlessly entertaining. It's endlessly rewatchable and just puts a smile on anybody's face who comes into contact with it. Because, I mean, him auditioning and then Jennifer giving him the advice. And then you get Strickland being Strickland, which, by the way, I've met Claudia Wells, who played the original Jennifer in that first film, so she was very nice. James Tolkien, before he passed away, I met Strickland, and he actually looked at me and called me a slacker on video. So that actually happened, Eric. It's true. It's on my social media. It's on my Instagram. You can find it. It's there. And I'm trying to think, who else have I met from that cast? Gosh. I didn't meet. I got an autograph through my friend, went to another show, and he met Leah Thompson. He met Bob Gale.
Okay.
I've met Christopher Lloyd. He was one of the first celebrities I ever met. And we actually got a picture. He and I got a professional photo op in front of a clock tower backdrop and an actual DeLorean sitting right in front of it.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm jealous at that one.
Yep, and it was at Wizard World Philadelphia in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was at that convention. That was a Comic-Con convention before Fan Expo came in and bought it.
Yeah.
But Christopher Lloyd was such a gentleman. He was so nice, so kind, and I mean, he's a legend. He's a freaking legend.
He's a legend, absolutely. Well, you haven't got there yet. So in Supreme Justice.
Yes.
Abby, one of my characters, gifts the body man, Nick Jordan. She gifts him because she's a nerd. She goes to all kinds of conventions and stuff. She gives him a signed original poster signed by the whole cast, basically as a present, framed, and it's like his prize. And I jokingly told my son that because he was like, what do you ever want for a birth? Because I'm hard to shop for, because I'm at the age in life where I make good money, and if I want something, I can buy it, and I don't, not that I can't be bought, not that no one can buy me a gift, but I don't want much stuff because I'm not a things person really. I'm less of a things person as I get older. But if I want something nice, I get it. I don't, and my kids can't afford to buy me the stuff I really want. But I was like, if you ever can one day get me a signed poster, doesn't even have to be everybody, but if you can get a good amount of them, that would be the thing I want. And if you ever find one, I'll pay half of it. I'll give you half of it. Just tell me, hey, I need some money for this, and I'll give you the money. But I put it in a book, and at least, well, we got that for posterity. Nick got it at least. So the buddy man.
I was going to say Nick got it. Yeah, for sure. No, that's, in the words of a classic show, that's dynamite. That's great, man. I'm so glad that you and I have a shared love of this movie. I mean, a lot of people do. But when you meet, and this is the funny thing about Eric P. Bishop and myself. I've heard about Eric through the grapevine with Sam Whitfield and some of the other podcasters who have had a chance to sit down and talk with you, such as Terrence Lehue, our good friend Terrence Lehue. Yep. And I'm like, well, this Eric guy sounds really cool. We should get him on the show. And then you and I started texting each other back and forth. But every time we tried to get you, you were traveling to these distant galaxies and distant lands. And then Terrence would book you and Sam would, and I'm like, well, if he's able to appear on Terrence and Sam over here, where's my day in the sun? What the heck is going on? And then finally we were texting each other back and forth a couple months back, and you're like, well, the next book's coming out around this time, so let's try to focus on that, and we'll see what happens. And then we were finally able to nail this down. And
social media gives everybody a fake perspective of people's lives, because I've had so many people over the years. Now, I say this with the caveat, I've traveled, sure. I'm blessed, I've seen stuff. You do. However, if you look at my social media and go, oh my God, Eric's on the road all the time. No, Eric goes like once a year. Now that I'm an adult and I got money, I go once a year to a really cool trip and I do some cool side stuff, but I work full time. I write, I get some vacation. I get to do a few things. If money wasn't a issue, once a month, I would be in a different country. I would go somewhere. I would see the world within a couple of years, because I would make sure I hit it all up, and I have a very big high list of things I want to see, and I probably will run out of time, and that's okay, because it's the journey, not the destination. But it's not as glamorous as social media makes it seem. So.
Yeah. So what was I going to say earlier? Certainly true. And yeah, it's incredible stuff. But yeah, no, every time I've been trying to get you on, but I'm glad that we finally got you here. That's the beauty of life, that we eventually get connected. The stars align, the fates get together. And once again, just to give everyone a reminder out there, this is the best show on earth, known as And I Quote, with the guest of honor, Eric P. Bishop. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions for the guest of honor, let us know in the comments. And I see you, Jamie, in the comments waving hi to everybody. Hello, Jamie. Good to see you, darling. Hope everything's well in your neck of the woods and all that jazz. So when exactly did you start writing?
So loaded question. I started my first novel in 2014, but I really started in college. And college, I started writing poetry. Bad poetry, I can admit now. Then I looked back in the last 10 years and looked at it and be like, oh my goodness, I gave these poems out to people. Surprised they didn't think I was, challenged. Had some issues going on here. He can't rhyme, he can't do anything. But that started the love of putting stuff down. That kind of morphed into telling like more of short stories. And I just, from like college on until my mid 30s, I frequently wrote, not every day by any stretch, but I frequently wrote, but I never finished anything. So I always had that dream of finishing that novel. And I did what almost everybody does. I talked about it. I might've started it, but I never did anything with it. So fast forward to 2014, I'm probably going through a midlife crisis at that point. Who knows? And I'm like, damn it, I want to finish a book. And so I kind of came up with a concept, came up with some characters, an idea, spent a lot of time kind of formulating it in my head, at least. In June, I think it was June 19th, 2014, I sat down that night. Everyone went to sleep. I was married at the time, 2 little kids, and I just started writing. And I did that 6 nights a week until sometime like September 27th, 25th, somewhere in the September range, 3 months, basically. I wrote 6 nights a week, but I didn't do it very well in the sense of I wrote until that thought was out of my head every night, which was not healthy, because I would write sometimes until 3 or 4 in the morning, and I had a full-time job. I had a family. So, and I'd get up in the morning and do my job and be with my family. And Sundays I didn't write. I kind of did a version of the Sabbath, I guess you could say. I took Sunday off. So it was a great thing to finish a book, but it wasn't good for my physical health because I sacrificed a lot of sleep. So when I went to go write the follow-up to that book, I did it a little different. Said, okay, you still married, still kids, I'll start at 10 o'clock at night, but I'm done at midnight. So this might take me a year to write a book, but I'm done at midnight. And it was a hard cutoff. So if I was in a paragraph, I'd finish a paragraph, but I wouldn't finish a page or a chapter. And then I would transition up and watch a television show to transition, because that was the other thing that became real hard of how do you get yourself to sleep when you're writing this intense scene that you don't even finish and it's in your brain. So I started watching Seinfeld and Breaking Bad at one point. I burned through Breaking Bad 5 seasons in 1 year or whatever it was after, but I'd have a TV show to transition me, like it's bedtime. Of course, Breaking Bad's probably a bad idea before you go to sleep, because then your dreams are about, meth and what you should be doing to support your family instead of working for corporate America. But yeah, so the how I've handled it has changed. The approach I've taken, the time I've put into it, the schedule's changed a lot. Divorce flew everything out of the window, and not writing when I had my kids and only writing when I didn't have my kids, not doing my day job and all that. But the process really did begin in 2014 of like, I'm taking it seriously. And since then I've done, Downfall's book 7, 4th in the series, 7th published book. I have 2 unpublished books, and I have 2 fairly far along started books. So, probably looking at and another one I've started as well. So probably like 9 full and 12 partials, or a couple more partials. So yeah.
Wow. All right. Hey,
and short stories and novellas. And I did a comic last year. I did like a 3-part comic. I think the 3rd part's coming out this fall around Halloween. So, but that's the one thing though, it's not abnormal. Like when you talk to most writers, you're a writer. So you some element of your personality is to tell stories in that form. So it's just kind of a part of you. You need to get that part out of you. So I know some people that can write books super, super quick. I did. My 3rd book I wrote, man, I can't remember how many days it was now, but it was like 40 something days. And that was, again, not like writing full time all the time. I still had married and kids. I was doing like 7,000 word nights sometimes, where I could just get it out of my system. But never got published. I've never even read that book fully through. It's sitting there. I know the concept is really good. And I'm sure one day when I actually go through it and like try to say, I can fix this up and publish this under my indie brand, I'm probably going to spend more than 40 something days, evenings, just fixing everything I blanked up for that. But it was a good experience, because it was a good, like, can you get this done and how quickly can you get it done? Because it all came to me. Like I had the idea, I had the thought, and it just flowed so fast. So I just went with it. But then that was book 3, and I wasn't getting a book deal. I wasn't getting an agent. So I pivoted and wrote The Body Man, and that was my 4th completed book. And that's the one that kind of started my career.
So in other words, that was your fantastic 4th.
Yeah, which is not uncommon, honestly. Talking to authors, it's obviously there's no hard and fast rule. Everyone's story is different. But there's quite a lot of well-known authors, or authors that I'm aware of, that it was their 4th novel that got them published. That's not an abnormal number for some reason. It's kind of, and I think what it is it's not complicated. It's by then you're kind of figuring out, you're getting comfortable in your own skin, you're getting better at telling a story, and kind of all the pieces are coming together, because those first few books are like an internship. You don't know what you're doing. You really are jacking a lot of stuff up. But by the 4th one, if you're learning, if you're taking it seriously as a craft, you're kind of putting the pieces together. I'm like, oh, okay, I have to leave every chapter for someone to have no reason not to go start the next chapter. They're like, I got to know where to go. I got to know what's going to happen next. So I think by that 4th book, you're finally realizing, okay, you leave everything as a cliffhanger, make them come back for the next chapter, make them burn through that book. If you're writing thrillers. Now, if you're writing romance or horror, different set of rules probably, but I don't write those very often.
No, it's all good. If there's a genre you particularly like and you enjoy, you go for it. And yeah, everybody goes at their own pace. I mean, like I got a bunch of short stories that are still, being edited, or I'm still piecing them together as I go, because like I said, or like we were talking about in the green, I'm very green. So I'm, as the show would probably tell you, I'm learning. I'm learning as I go. And that's the beauty of writing too. Like, you don't have to get it right the first time. Nobody cares.
No.
And the other thing is, drafts are going to suck. They're going to be terrible, but that's the point, because you want them. You just got to get your thoughts on paper, right? And then you go back, read it a number of times, and then you do the edits, the revisions and all that kind of stuff. And obviously I got a group of friends I can go to and say, hey, I wrote this piece. I want to hear your 2 cents. Give me the feedback. Tell me what you think about this. Is it vibing with you? Do you understand what's going on with the characters? Is the pacing okay? Like, what is it, about this story? And then they tell me that. They would tell me, I think you're doing this good, but I think you may want to think about changing this over here. And I said, okay. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. I don't have an issue with that, because like I said, I am here to have fun with it, but I'm also here to learn and soak it up to a certain degree, like a sponge. And just roll with it, man, because writing stories should be fun. It shouldn't be work. It's not a job or anything. I just want to write it because I want to have fun doing it. And plus, someone mentioned this on a podcast I was listening to earlier today. It's not a competition. You are not in competition with any other writers or any other genres. It doesn't matter who's out there, because the subject matter of their podcast was, it's not a race. It never was, and it never will be. You write what you want to write when you want to write it, and you got your own thing going on. You have your own life. You have your full-time job. You have your wife, the kids, the mortgage, whatever.
Yep.
Whatever you write, just go ahead and write. If you feel like writing that day, go feel like writing that day. If you don't feel like writing that day, then who cares?
Yep.
Who cares? I don't care. I mean, I got 200 books here that have been sitting on my TBR shelf collecting dust for years, because I've been supporting other indie writers and traditional published authors out there, because I want to read their work. Because the more you read, your brain's it's like knowledge, man. You read this stuff, you got to soak it up, and then it's gonna 100%. Start to inspire you to continue writing within your own work, if that makes any sense.
No, completely. Well, what's the rising tide lifts all boats?
Rising tide lifts all boats. Yeah.
Back to what you were saying, where there's not a competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I mean, me selling a book doesn't keep Brad Thor or Jack Carr or whatever. It doesn't take away from one of their sales. If people are reading if they're into thrillers, they're not going to read one thriller a year. The biggest complaint you normally see from readers, me being a reader as well, is I wish that person could put out books, because that was the biggest thing growing up, like reading Tom Clancy, or especially Vince Flynn. Vince would come out with a book. I would get it. I would just blow through it in a night or two extremely quickly. And then it's like, damn, I got to wait a year to read what's going to happen next to Mitch Rapp. And it was annoying, but then you start writing and you realize, oh yeah, I can see why you don't put books out every 3 weeks. It doesn't work that way. You can't possibly do it well. Or I'm sure there's exceptions where people can put a book out a month, but those type of books, that's hard to keep that, to keep anything. And of course, then the publishing world, they want to have readers want your book. So they don't want to saturate it and be like, okay, this author writing 10 books a year. That wouldn't work for, that would end up probably losing them money versus gaining 10 times, the revenue. So
another good point made by the Professor Eric P. Bishop on And I Quote. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments, let us know in the chat. So my
no professor here, just jackass of all trades. Trust me, I know a little bit about a lot of stuff, and I don't know a lot about much. So
yeah, no, I wasn't trying to give you a fake PhD or anything. I was just trying to be nice.
You can get them on the internet if you want one, though.
True. I was just gonna say, this is just my poor attempt at being silly. But in a general sense, what would you say are some of the challenges about being a writer in a general sense?
The writing side of it itself, there are none. And I know that sounds kind of silly in a way to say it, but the writing is pure. The writing's enjoyment. The challenges come when you start trying to go edit it. That's the challenge, when you have to go. And that's the one thing I always tell people, because a lot of times it's and again, everyone's process is a little bit different, but some people immediately want to start editing like after every chapter. And that works for some people. But a lot of times what happens is, if you've never written a full book, you'll probably never finish the book if you just keep tweaking it. So write the first draft. It might suck. That's okay. You can fix suck. What you can't fix is I didn't finish the first draft. So that editing part can be hard. And for me, it was really hard with the first couple books because I didn't like it. I wasn't conceited about it in any way, shape, or form, but I didn't like the idea of going in and changing stuff. It's like I would tell myself, well, that's how you wanted to tell the story. Why would you go change it? Once I got more comfortable with the process, once I got a little older, once I got more mature on it, so I realized, oh, I'm actually doing a form of writing. I'm fixing what I originally did, but I'm rewriting. So, because that's I think where I got hung up is I didn't like the idea of editing and then I'm not writing anymore. I'm not writing maybe for months and months while I edit this book, and that kind of irritated me. Now my take on editing is a lot different, but it still can be hard. It's a challenge to edit. So that's a hard one. And then, of course, trying to get it published. Writing is a joy. Publishing and marketing and all that is the opposite of joy most of the time. It's not, and hard work's a great thing, but you're screaming in the void. If you're trying to find an agent, it can be screaming in the void. If you get an agent, get a publishing deal, and you got a book coming out, you're screaming into the void of buy me, buy me, buy me, buy me. And people get sick of hearing you say, buy me, buy me, buy me. But it starts in a pure form with the writing, and then the real work, I think, begins after that book is polished and ready to go.
Yeah, most certainly. Yeah, marketing is definitely for anybody. It's definitely a challenge. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter if you've been in the business for 1 minute or 250 years, like Yoda. Actually, 900. He was in the business for 900 years. Sorry, Yoda. Remember that catchphrase for 900 years? Look as good. You would not. It's just Sorry, I grew up watching Star Wars.
I did leave Star Wars off the list.
I was surprised. I'm like, come on, you mentioned Back to the Future, which is sci-fi. Why don't you bring up Star Wars?
There's so many good movies. So the first movie I ever saw, which I don't remember seeing as a kid, was Empire Strikes Back. I was in a drive-in movie theater with my mom, my aunt, and my cousin, and I don't remember it, but Mom told me the story about it. So yeah, Star Wars were definitely idyllic childhood movies. They've kind of dropped the ball in the last while.
Couple movies, yeah. The last couple movies, you mean? Yeah. Wasn't pretty. So who knows? Maybe they'll clean up the mess one day. I don't know. Probably not. But listen,
I don't know.
Like the Force, what are rebellions built on? Hope. So and in the words of President Snow, hope. It is the only thing stronger than fear. So. Sorry. Once again,
that movie, the new one coming out here, I think in November.
Sunrise on the Reaping
looks pretty darn good. I saw the preview with my daughter.
Did you?
I think they showed it before Spider-Man when we went. I saw Spider-Man without her. She saw it with someone else, and my son saw it with his girlfriend. And the three of us went last week and saw it together. All three of us
last week.
Time, and they did show it a couple times. They showed that one. And when we came out, my daughter's like, "Ooh, we're going to see that one, Daddy." I said, "Yes, we will. We will go see that one." So,
yeah, it's. I mean, from the trailers anyway, it looks good. I actually have the 5 books here in my TBR because I've read the first book. I've read Hunger Games, but I need to read, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then watch that movie because they did an adaptation of it a couple years ago. And then I want to see Sunrise of the Reaping after I've done reading the book. So we'll see how it goes.
Audiobooks is a way to go. That's the reason. That's how I got through them, was doing audiobooks. So.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people have mentioned that to me over the years too. It's just it's the funny thing though. I hear you about audiobooks, but at the same time, I just prefer to have this thing called a book in my. I'm a physical media proponent here, so I prefer to have a hardcover or paperback, whichever, because formats abound. I don't mind having a book in my hands so I can turn the page. Because in my opinion, and I can't speak for everybody because everybody has a different feeling about this. I'm trying to get away from technology, and I just want to sit and have some music. And this is another thing I like when I'm reading. I have music playing when I'm reading. Some people don't like it, and that's fine. Everybody reads at a different pace in a different way. I like music playing that's related to the book that I'm reading. So, for example, I'm reading Your Friendly Neighborhood, The Body Man here, which is like 24, or James Bond, whichever. It's a mixture of a couple of different things. But I have ambient spy music playing as I'm reading The Body Man. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in the interrogation room with this guy, and I'm hearing what Eli and Kat are doing. Like I'm following them, I'm driving with them in the ride along. It's like as soon as I listen to this music, depending on what genre it is, it helps me get into the book more as I'm progressively reading it. So when I got The Body Man going on and I'm turning the page, I got that ambience, and I'll send you the link too so you can listen to this. It's really good, like low-fi, maybe not lo-fi, but just low-toned ambient spy music. It's just something that mellows you out, but it's something that gets you in that vibe of reading a thriller type, novel, right? So it works for me, man. I mean, because if I'm listening to the 24 theme, I'm going to be tense the whole time. I don't want to be tense. I want to be relaxed, but I also want to be enthralled of what I'm reading. So, hey, with book 1 of The Body Man, I got no problem with that. But on the flip side of this different side of the coin, though, what do you think are some of the rewards about being a writer in a general sense?
To me, honestly, the biggest reward is getting that story that you've kind of lived in your head, getting it out, and then having it available. Like I've talked about this on my podcast and other podcasts I've been on. I do finance by day, got a good job. Corporate America, I've been done it for many, many years. 2004, I started in the company I'm with, or not the role. I've switched roles a few times. But if AI were to really take out finance jobs this week, and they were like, hey, we don't need you anymore. Send us back that laptop and we'll send you your final paycheck. There is nothing I have that shows what I just did for the last 22 years. Like I don't have like reams of spreadsheets printed out that I can say, hey, here's the budgets I worked on. Here's the financial analysis work I did. There's none of that. The books, though, outlive me, which is a really cool thing. So when you write the books, and to me, the biggest reward is you're leaving something behind. And on top of leaving something behind, I'm convinced every writer leaves a little piece of their soul in a book. It might just be a character development. It might be a incidental incident that takes place in the course of the narrative that's really happened to them. But there's always a little piece of every author in a book. And to me, that's the cool thing, is you're leaving something behind. And, I hope, generations from now, someone picks up, great grandpa Eric's book and like reads about, these characters. Hopefully they get to Merci and she's wearing something a little risque. They're not like, what kind of perv was grandpa? What the hell was he writing? But maybe that'll make them laugh. And they're like, grandpa had a sense of humor. So you never know.
That's very true. That's very true. And Merci is an interesting character from what I've read of her so far within the context of this series.
Yeah, so, you haven't gotten much so far. So
I know.
Supreme Justice. You'll get her on full display of how she is, and what became her. I told you we were talking about that offline. Is
sure.
She's one of the characters that people reached out to me and they're like, where did she come from, and when are you going to tell her story? And the truth is, I didn't have any of her figured out. I wrote her very one-dimensionally for the Body Man, still kind of one-dimensional in Breach of Trust. So after Breach of Trust, I had to actually sit down with myself and go, okay, why does this intelligent, attractive, highly skilled woman kill people for money? Because she's either a complete psychopath, or there's another reason of why she's targeting these people for and being paid to do it. So I spent a lot of time figuring out what would be a good backstory for her, and that's in Supreme Justice. There's a mentions of why she got into this industry or business line, and what caused her, and why she stuck with it, and even is she conflicted with doing that because she has a set of rules. She has one rule she will not break, and that's challenged in Supreme Justice, and that drives the narrative. Which again, that stuff's fun to me. I when I come up with those ideas and able to put them down on paper, I'm writing the story for myself, and I'm pleased. And if I'm pleased, then I figure maybe some readers will be pleased. Maybe.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to ask you a question about this regarding Supreme Justice when we get to it. Don't want to jump too far ahead of the curve here. It's called a script, guys. Follow the script. Anyway, sorry, I grew up watching movies. They all follow the script. But anywho, any other pieces of advice you would offer to aspiring writers out there? What do you think?
The other thing is, do it for the right reasons. I think so often people get into this, and myself included. So again, when I give advice, I'm preaching to myself when I say this, but they get into it and they're thinking, oh man, I'm going to be a big deal, or, oh, this is going to pay my bills, or, oh, I'm going to write a story because you have a story to tell. Don't get far ahead of yourself thinking that this is going to make it into Hollywood, or this is going to be a New York Times bestseller. That might happen. But if that is your end goal, there's a higher probability that doesn't happen. So write the story that you want to tell, and also write it for yourself. Sounds very narcissistic or selfish, but I think if someone writes the story that makes them happy and the story that they want to tell, not the story that their wife wants to read or their kids or their friends, I think if they do it in that intention, I think that comes across. And I think they'll find a lot more joy in that versus, because, you write a story for someone thinking they're going to love this story. What if they don't love it? What if they're like, character sucked, or the plot sucked, I didn't like that? Well, you've just spent how many months of your life crafting a story, and the person you wrote it for didn't like it. Well, that can be soul crushing. So sure, it's great to get them to enjoy that, and you want people to give you positive affirmation, but don't have that be, just like with money, don't have that be the final like destination. Like I always say, it's the journey. It's the journey of getting that story done. It's the next journey that begins. Don't get hung up on though of like, oh, I've got to please this person, or oh, I have to get a book deal, or oh, I have to make the New York Times bestseller list, because everything's working against you if that's your mentality.
Definitely, yeah, great piece of advice for sure. And it's good to keep in mind. Definitely good to keep in mind for sure. So I do want to share something with you and with you who may be watching and listening to this program right now. So this bad boy, I read this in less than 4 days. Ransomed Daughter is a mixture of Liam Neeson's Taken meets Jack Bauer's 24, as I pointed out earlier, and I'll continue to say it because that's just the vibe I'm getting from reading these kinds of stories, written by you, of course. So Ransomed Daughter, what was it like writing this, and how did this Ransomed Daughter come about exactly, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no problem. So the series I started before the Bodyman series was actually based on my character Troy Evans. So I wrote 3 books for Troy, and I also wrote multiple short stories and novellas. And so that's what Ransomed Daughter actually started out as, and really stayed a novella. It's a little bit big for a novella, but it wasn't a full-length book. So that was the kind of what was in my head back in 2014 was these type of stories. It's like, what if you have this elite group of guys who works outside of the regular military? They come from the military, but they're kind of pulled into different jobs. And it gets more into that with like Babylon Will Rise and some of the other novels that I've got done on this. It kind of breaks out more of how that organization began and all that. And future ones will kind of delve in more to it. But yeah, I just wanted like a old school, you have a daughter that gets kidnapped and what would a father do? And I asked that because I had a daughter at the time, or still have a daughter, but a young daughter at the time. It's like, what would I do if she, if someone grabbed her? What would I be willing to give up, or what would I be willing to, what lines would I cross to get her back? And that's how I kind of crafted the story of a dad would do anything. And a mother would do, parent, but from a father's perspective, what would a father do to save his child? He would take a human life. He would pay whatever money. He would do whatever it was to get back what was precious to him. He would possibly hire a team like the Omega Group and Captain Troy Evans and send them across the world to go find his daughter and get her back.
It is, and my gosh, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
It's freaking amazing. I
haven't read it in years, but I'm glad it holds up.
Well, I'll tell you what, brother. I mean, Ransomed Daughter is freaking awesome. Like I
remember what it's about. I'm like, wait, what was the story? What was that one about? I've read like 6 books since then. So
because it was so long ago. No, I get, but no, it is. But I got to be honest with you, and this is another thing I like about when writers do this. I don't mind reading full-length novels as long as they keep me hooked, keep me turning the page, want me to keep going because I want to find out what's going to happen between the plot, the characters, whatever, which is what this one's doing very well right now, by the way. So well done, guys. But yeah, Ransomed Daughter being 175, 184 pages, I read that in less than 3 days because I was so hooked from the very beginning. And then Troy Evans gets this team together, and he's got Sarge, and you got the supporting characters. And by the way, when I'm reading these books, and I think other readers can attest to this as well, I'm imagining who I would cast in these roles because I've seen so many movies and TV series over the years, with all due respect. I can picture certain actors or actresses playing these roles. So when I was, to a certain extent, when I was, right now when I'm reading The Body Man, I'm picturing Jeffrey Donovan as Nick Jordan.
Okay.
Like old, early day Burn Notice, because I know Jeffrey Donovan's not as young as he once was. So I'm like envisioning these younger iterations of these actors or characters. I see Jeffrey Donovan as Nick Jordan, and then I'm looking at Jesse L. Martin as Eli. And then for Kat, I'm picturing Marisol Nichols as Kat Stone, more specifically. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm seeing the movie. It's playing. I got these characters. I got this actor playing this one. I got this actress playing her. And I'm thinking, this is a good movie. I like this. Where's this going? And then this wants me to keep turning the page. But no, Ransomed Daughter is freaking amazing. It's what if Taken in 24 had a baby, and this is what you get. At least in my opinion. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like it was part Taken meets 20, and I'm like, yeah, this is the two had a baby. This is what Ransomed Daughter would be, and I freaking love it. So
it was fun story, right? And I don't. that one question that I've gotten over the years is that, like, who would you cast? I probably am the exception, because I know some authors that, like, they think of Kiefer Sutherland from 24 as one of the characters, or that, whoever, fill in the blank, Daniel Craig or whatever actor, it doesn't matter. I don't. And I intentionally don't, because I figured early on, if I envision like Chris Evans as Troy Evans, if I figure the character, Chris Helmsworth or whoever it might be, it's never going to happen. The only person I know that's talked about it that has at least said that that's what happened is Jack Carr. Jack Carr basically had Chris Pratt in his mind as playing that character, and then he played that character. The chances of that happening, Powerball's got better odds than that. So I didn't want to ever set myself up for, and I was writing long before I knew that scenario with Jack and Chris Pratt, but I don't want to set myself up for like, damn, I had Chris Pratt as playing this character. What do you mean, fill in the blank actors there? I don't see that as that. It's like, I don't even want that in my head. So when I'm writing it, I'm not really seeing their faces necessarily. It's not that I'm seeing these blobs. It's nothing like that. But I'm envisioning it as a movie for sure. But I intentionally don't focus on exactly what they're like. I don't know exactly what any of the characters really, really look like. I know some features. I know some hair color. Abby. So the closest probably I came to is Abby, who shows up in Breach of Trust, Supreme Justice, especially in Downfall. And the only reason I say that is because I completely modeled her and described her as the Abby character from the NCIS show. So you got this gothic-looking chick with a chest tattoo, fucking blow pops and drinking cherry. And so I kept the name Abby, and I'm like, well, it's not the same person, so I can use this fictional name. But it's referenced in the story. Of people will be like, that's what she looks like, that's what she acts like, because she's this NSA, analyst. She's this nerd who's a goth chick who in Downfall is going to a bluegrass convention. And so storyline happening with that. And they're like, Nick was telling her when she's getting ready to go, he's like, you're going to be the outlier there. You're going to look so different. You're goth. This is bluegrass. And so when she comes back and there's a lot of stuff that happens at the bluegrass convention, he's like, how did they treat you? And she's like, I actually thought it was pretty cool. They like the way I look, sorry to burst your bubble, dude. But, I'm pretty cool in the bluegrass community, even though I'm a goth.
That's wild. Yeah.
So I broke my rule with that one. That one I actually thought of the Abby. I don't know the actor.
Polly Perrette is the actual actress's name. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is fine. There's nothing wrong. Yeah. No. When I'm trying to think, who was I imagining as? Gosh, why am I blanking on this? Because I just finished Ransom Daughter not too long. You finish a book, you move on to the next one. It's kind of hard to. Okay, what recalled this? What recalled that?
Try remembering what you had the characters doing 3 books later, and you're like, what the crap was that like?
What were they doing?
Well, I have to go back to the ebooks and do a lot of search sometimes and be like, look for this detail and what how did I describe them? How did I describe that scenario? So
yeah, there's a couple of actors we can envision for these roles, but when it comes to Troy Evans, originally I was thinking of one actor, but now I'm thinking maybe a younger Brandon Routh would play a good Troy Evans. Brandon Routh could pull that off, I think.
Name's not familiar. So
Brandon Routh is famous for playing the Atom and the Superman in Superman Returns from 2006.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't see that one, but I know. So again, I've cut out a lot of movies, so It's
okay. But he's a younger, like, and Superman Returns in essence was a sequel to Superman 2 after Christopher Reeve had passed away and all this stuff. It was basically the real Superman 3, not counting Superman 3 and 4, because a lot of people we want to forget those movies ever happened. Because they're not very good. But Superman Returns, Brandon Routh was like a dead ringer for Christopher Reeve. And I'm like, wow, they really cast this film well for the time. Yeah. But when I'm thinking of Troy Evans being a young, cutting his teeth, going through the motions, figuring out how to find this girl, like, you know what? If Brandon Routh can turn on the intensity, like he sort of kind of tried to do in Superman Returns, I could have seen him playing Troy. But then again, there's a bunch of different actors who could play these. Let's not kid ourselves. But Brandon Routh was one of them. Sarge was... Oh gosh, I'm blanking on it. Maybe Tom Barry, who's a character actor. He was in films like Independence Day, The Fast and the Furious. He was the FBI agent Bilkins, the tall African-American character. So I was just seeing him playing Sarge, but there's a whole bunch of other actors. It's ridiculous how many actors there are. It's I can't recall all of them. But anyway, Ransom Daughter was great, but now it leads us into the big kahuna here, known as The Body Man, which I just showed the cover of the first installment of that ridiculously good-looking franchise. But let's talk about the new one here, Downfall. I mean, look how ridiculously good-looking this looks. It looks like
good cover right there.
It's very green. It's very money. And it's also, it is money. And I will say this to you, Eric, because of your writing and what I've experienced with it so far. This writing and this storyline of The Body Man and everything else, you're so money, Eric, that you don't even know it. You're money. I'm telling you, you're money.
Money.
That's a reference to a 90s movie with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. But yeah, with Downfall, for someone who's not familiar with this, what exactly is The Body Man? And Downfall, you said, is the 4th installment in the Body Man series. So to catch everybody up to speed without giving away, I know it's going to be hard to do this without giving away too many spoilers. What exactly is The Body Man, and how does Downfall play into this?
So in the first book, in the first Body Man book, you find out that there is this person missing, and they uncover more information as Eli and Kat are going along. 2 FBI agents assigned to finding this missing person that works for the White House is all they know. Well, that becomes more of like, well, he works something close to the president. Okay, what do you mean works close to the president? Well, as the story unfolds, you find out this term, the body man, is used. What the hell is the body man? So to get there, fast forward or rewind, to what year was that? 2016, 15, I don't know, long time ago. I was doing a Friday night job. I was full-time job, wife, kids, but I got to make a car payment. So I'm doing a fire sprinkler cleaning job on Friday nights. And I had already written a couple books, but I was really needing a new idea. I was kind of struggling with, I'm not getting an agent, nothing's happening. So I walk into the fire sprinkler company that night, turn off the alarm, lock the door, and this thought, and it's literally was just a thought, pops in my head. So there's always someone who knows where the bodies are buried. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Who would know where the body? And I answered my question, or I tried to. Who would know where the bodies are buried? And I thought, the body man. And then I was like, well, I don't really want to write a mafia story. So what the heck is the body man? This doesn't, what am I doing? What's my head doing? Well, I jumped to a real news story I remembered hearing at some point there in the past year or two. Is President Obama had a guy, Reggie Love, who worked for him, who the media dubbed the body man. And Reggie was basically always with the president, carried his, whatever, credit cards, his smokes. If Barack needed something, Reggie took care of it. If Barack wanted to play basketball, Reggie lined up the basketball stuff. So he was kind of an admin in a way. And I thought about that, and I thought about the body man, and I thought, well, that would be a really boring story to all of a sudden have, the glorified admin carrying a story. What's going to happen in the White House? And I thought, okay, so what if there's a role called the body man, but they come out of the Secret Service? And what if their job is not to protect the president, but to protect the presidency, the office of the presidency, the reputation of the presidency? So then my brain went back to, well, why would we need that role? And I thought, JFK. What was JFK doing? Well, rumors are that JFK was sneaking Marilyn Monroe into the White House when Jackie wasn't there. So I thought there'd be a good reason to have a body man to cover up some no-nos. So that kind of got my mind thinking along that line. And then when I started crafting the first novel, I wanted to have it very mysterious. So you have a person abducted. In the course of the story, the investigation figures out that you have this person called the body man. Well, what are they doing? What's their role? And it's hinted to in the first book. Really in the second book that takes off, because you find out in Breach of Trust that you have a role called the body man, and people in Washington start finding out about it. You have an unelected person in the White House that has really control over the president, because the body man role has 2 parts. One, if the president, he or she, does something that is going to sully the reputation of that office, your job is to clean it up. But 2, you have the authority to prevent the president, he or she, from doing said acts. So you have someone unelected that has power over the physical person of the presidency. That creates a lot of fireworks in the second book, Breach of Trust. And then to end the second book, Breach of Trust, there's a dead body and a list of names found on the dead body. And those are all the former body men. So that leads into Supreme Justice. It's hinted at, and then really downfall of why are all the former body men being targeted? Are they going to be killed? Are they going to be interrogated? what information do they have? Why does someone want that information? And what are they going to do with it? And that's downfall in a nutshell.
I mean, that's just I can't say it, but I'll let this person over here say it.
Yes! That's awesome!
I've heard. No, it is. It really is. I mean, yes, it's disturbing that if someone were to have this, like, and all this stuff, but overall, it's one of the most coolest, original, thrilling premises I've ever heard for a story. I don't care if it's something from a television set, a movie set, it doesn't matter. This is so intriguing to me because it's one thing to have someone guard the president. That is that's one thing. But to have someone who's able to, like you said, have a little bit of authority to do, if someone's going to sully the reputation, if something's going to happen that they are going to be able to prevent without having to go through other channels, it's going to make people wonder, like, but who's really reining this person in? There's no reins here. This person has, what do you call it, like unfettered access.
This person also has a get out of jail
free card. Yeah,
they have a pardon. They have a pardon.
Yes,
they can do anything they want to do, and they're pardoned from doing it. That's a lot of power. I mean, look at in real world. Look what's just been going on with Fauci and stuff. Of like Biden giving Fauci a 10-year pardon has freaked some people out, rightfully so, or unrightfully so, depending on what side of the aisle you might be on. But yeah, when you're giving someone something that says, "Hey, whatever you did for these 10 years, you're good." Well, is that cool? Is that really constitutional? So it opens up, and I did it intentionally.
Sure.
And again, it wasn't some act of brilliance. It was just like, I've read so many stories that are fairly similar, and I enjoy them. Not a knock at writing stories that are a formula. I wanted to write something different, and I'm sure someone has written some version of what I've done that I never read, and I'm not completely unique in what I've come up with. But I think it's fairly unique. And it's like, how do I put my spin on what my imagination has put together? And for me, it was the body man role. And that's the other thing too, is I wanted to create a role, because I've read so much as a kid growing up, and now I don't read as much as an adult. I read more non-thrillers, honestly, just because of what I write. I don't want to read thrillers, or when I want to read them, I just want to write them most of the time. But most of the time when you read a thriller or a series, a long-standing series, and I'll name like Mitch Rapp and Vince Flynn, not to knock them, because that's on my Mount Rushmore. But the thing I don't like about it as I've gotten older is when that first chapter starts, Mitch Rapp is the protagonist, obviously. Well, at the last chapter, Mitch Rapp is going to still be the protagonist, because whoever's writing the series at this time, since Vince is dead, they got probably a multiple book contract. So Mitch Rapp has to carry the series. So it's like, I don't want to just write a Nick Jordan is the permanent body man. So instead of having it be Nick Jordan, have it be a role. That way I can possibly kill a body man one day if I need to. And it does swap out. I talk about it in Downfall a lot of how, Clinton had a body man. Guess what? Clinton's body man got axed. It's a hard thing to lose this job, but he lost his job. Why? Because he let that blue dress leave the White House. And, that body man had a job, and that job was to protect the reputation of the office. You fail when all of a sudden this big scandal comes out about an intern, and how does that, and it really did sully the presidency, Bill Clinton was a genius, very smart man, but he was that first one that really got a lot of prominence in, popular culture of like, whoa, scumbag move. And, it made a lot of jokes and a lot of memes over the years. And I think, cheapened the presidency in a way. So the body man in my fictitious world's job is to prevent those things from occurring at any means necessary, which that's a dangerous thing. And that's what I want. If people talk about it and people, there's a lot of questions I'll get sometimes. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know what the answer is. I'm just telling a good story. But I want people to raise questions of like, hey, do you like having people in power that, have unlimited power? Hey, do you like it? Do you like countries out there where there is no, constitutional republic? There is no, people get to have a say. You get one person calling all the shots. Well, that's pretty dangerous if you ever disagree with that one person. So
it's incredible stuff. Once again, this has been an incredible episode so far of And I Quote with Eric P. Bishop. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments of the chat. Something I do want to ask as a follow-up to that. So the cover looks fantastic. I'm just curious, who does the covers for these books? But specifically this one and Supreme Justice, I think, are some of your best covers ever.
Yeah, so I've got years ago when I went indie, I needed I needed a cover guy, and I was talking to James Razone, who is a very successful indie author, and I just messaged him one day or something. Said, "You got any good recommendations? I need a cover guy." And guy's name is Momir. I've probably recommended him to a dozen other authors since I started using him, but really James Razone gave me Momir's contact information. He works actually out of Serbia. So nowhere in the United States. It's kind of weird. I've had this like interaction with this person for 4 years now. 6 of my 7 book covers, Momir has done. And he's fabulous. I'll give him an idea like, hey, I'm thinking kind of this, and he'll push back to me 3, 4, 5 cover designs. And I'll normally be like, I like that element from that one. I like that element from that one, which is kind of a cool thing. It's something I never intended to go indie, and kind of my hand was forced after a couple years in a way. But the one thing that I actually like is if I was traditional, I'd probably have no say in the cover. Hey, this is your cover for the Body Man. And you just go, yay. And you might think it sucks, but it doesn't matter. And the publishing industry is really good with covers where they typically don't put out a cover that sucks. I understand that. But normally most authors don't have not much feedback. At least it's kind of decided for them, at least if you're a no-name author. I like the fact that I can actually have full-on control of like, no, I don't like that one, put that one. And sometimes he's done like for Downfall, I don't know that we made many tweaks at all. But I was pretty specific of what I thought would look good. I gave him the color scheme. I definitely wanted that greenish color scheme because it is got a financial element to it. There's a China element there, so I wanted the dueling flags kind of on there. And it's kind of like with Breach of Trust, it had a Russian element there. And I love the fact that he put like Abe wrapped in the American flag, and then at the base, not everyone catches it, but the base of the pedestal is the Russian flag. So dude's awesome. I take zero credit in the sense of I couldn't design a cover to look that good. I can give ideas, but Momir knocks him out of the park.
Oh, they are incredible. Supreme Justice is probably my favorite one, just because of that silhouette, right? And then you get all the stuff that's in between it and in the middle of it. I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting some legal thriller vibes. I'm getting just a little bit of Law and Order because I grew up watching Law and Order and SVU and all this other stuff. So I'm thinking of the theme song. I got these are their stories. Ching, ching,
yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That one I told him on that one. I said I want the Supreme Court building, as a highlight. I want the silhouette of a woman, and I want Lady Justice there. Like, it's not a blend in, because I want this to be like, the Supreme Justice is coming. Well, what does that mean? The justice system? Or does that mean Mayor C is going to deliver Supreme Justice? I wanted it kind of mysterious, but I wanted those themes there of like, I wanted to slap people in the face. The covers to me should tell part of the story, because I'll read books sometimes and I'll be like, how the heck did they get that cover? Why did they have a speeding boat? There was never a boat on that cover. Like, what's going on here? And I want mine to basically give hints to what's going to happen in the story.
Oh, it's genius, by the way. I think it's so genius. So well done on that one. Something else that goes along with your marketing in terms of the covers are incredible. You recently redesigned your website here, and I gotta tell you, once again, you are just, and anybody who works, puts these things together, with you and for you, are just knocking this thing out of the park. Because when I look at this website and how organized and detailed it is, I'm thinking, okay, I've visited some author websites in my time. Yes, I mean, I know there's a lot of people I still haven't, talked with or had a chance to look at their social medias, as it were. But this website, man.
Are you live on it? Is that shot live from it?
Yeah, this is what it looks like right now. This is the homepage of what it looks like right now. Yeah.
Go to Intelligence. Intelligence is the coolest thing ever.
Let me see. Oh, yeah. See, what do we have here? Global operations, I see.
So that's all locations that take place in the books, and it will actually give you a link. If you click the link, it'll tell you like where the location is, and it will link you to Amazon to buy that book. Like,
I see it. Look at that. Yeah.
When you click on it, it expands it. Again,
deploy to Amazon. There you go.
I get zero credit for this. I got a buddy that does websites, and for years he kept saying, let's do a website. And I'm like, I'm not there. I don't need one. And we finally on this one said, okay, let's make this thing happen. So there's still some probably setup we have to still finish on some stuff. But I did my first website through Weebly on my own, which I had for like 8 years, and it was clunky. It sucked, but it was, whatever, $140 a year. It gave information. It was some place for people to, use as a launch pad, but I wanted something sexy that, had that thriller vibe. And my buddy, so if anyone needs a good website, DM me or email me. It's on the website, how to get in touch with me. I'll gladly give you his contact info, and he'll quote you, give you a fair quote on a brand new website. So
Yeah, this looks fantastic. And then when I click on the Armory, I'm like, what is the Armory? And it's like, oh, these are all the past works. I like that. That's clever. Very clever. And there's great deals on this too. We can, people are able to buy copies of your books directly from you, right? And you can get them signed and sent to you. And there's a bundle deal I see at the bottom of the page here, which is really cool.
It was a lot more popular with like the first book, Bodyman, especially Breach of Trust. Is kind of the interest has more people are just getting them from Amazon now than from me. But I still will sell them for sure. I keep copies on hand. I'll buy them. I like doing it. So this next word isn't a complaint, but it is a lot of work. So if you're selling them yourself, obviously you're having to fill the stuff out. And signing a book, that's not work. That's a joy. Getting to sign a book is, I don't know why anyone want my signature, but you got to get postage stuff. You got to mail to the post. Got to get to the post office. You got to do that. So it does become like if you actually were selling, bazillion books out of your website, it would become a part-time job for sure. So I don't sell a bazillion, so I can handle it. But I sold a lot of them that way for like the Bodyman when that came out. That was pretty. It kept me hopping going to the post office a lot. So which is a good blessing to have. So
yeah. I would venture to say so. What has your experience been like going to book signings or other events, whether you're there as the vendor selling your books or there as an attendee? Any thoughts?
I've done 4 conferences over the years. I did Thriller Fest 3 times before I was published. I did Boucher Con in Minneapolis after I got published. All positive experiences. As I've gotten further into the publishing world and more books coming out, and especially after starting my own indie brand, I look at them in a little bit of a different light, only because I try to think of it from a financial standpoint of, is it worth flying to this city or driving to this city if it's close by? And what am I going to get a bang for my buck? Because if early on when I was doing Thriller Fest, I was trying to get an agent. So I would actually pitch and meet agents. I'm not now. I might, again, early in the year when I finish this next book out, go that route again, and then have to probably start messing with agents again. But I haven't queried an agent in 5 years. I've been basically small publisher and then indie press myself. So don't need an agent, don't need, it financially doesn't make any sense to go that route. So I have not had the reason necessarily to go to a conference in the past several years. They're much more at this stage, much more about keeping contacts with authors and just being tied into the industry. Just the last couple of years, it seems like they either fall on month-end close, which I do a finance job. So the first week of the month, first 10 days are kind of busy. So it's been hard. I can't pretty much get time off unless something dire happens. Or it kind of falls on a weekend. I have my kids and I don't mess with my job and I don't mess with my kids. I don't mind missing a weekend. I don't have my kids to go to a conference, but if it's a weekend, I have my kids. Book stuff doesn't matter. Conferences don't matter in that regard. And my daughter, my kids, son's in college now. My daughter's in high school. In a few years, I'll be alone. So yeah, I could go to more conferences probably. But and then second part of it for book signings, super cool experience. I've done probably about a half dozen or so over the years. I haven't done one the last year or two. Again, they're a lot of work and you never know if anyone's going to show up. So the last couple releases, I just haven't made the effort to, just busy. So I haven't. I probably will do it with Downfall, but it would probably be after I get back from New Zealand and Australia, only because you got to have the books on hand. You got to line everything up, and I've got way too much to do in the next 3 weeks before I leave. So probably when I get back, I'll probably do a signing event close by, and I'm always open to do more events. Just that's the other thing authors have to keep in mind is I know a lot of best-selling authors that had their, early on in their career, went to a book signing event at a bookstore and no one showed up. So online, you'll see, Jack Carr, or you might see David Baldacci or someone, and they got 400 people in a room. But Brad Meltzer, I've met Brad Meltzer multiple times at book events, and there's 400 people in the room. That's not normal. Like normally when authors are doing book signings, you're going to have a small showing if you have a showing. So you have to keep your expectations in check, and don't probably spend a lot of money to go do a book signing unless you're willing to spend it and not get it back.
Yeah, I could totally understand.
But it's cool meeting people. So I keep. It's not an ego thing at all. I keep a copy of every book, a couple copies in my trunk in a box, because multiple times in the last multiple years I've been somewhere and someone's been like, "Oh, you're an author. Oh, I'll have to get your book." And I'll be like, "I got one in the trunk." Like, "Oh, I'll give you $10 for a book." I'm like, "Okay, whatever. Here you go." I've given books out. Just don't worry about it. I've told people actually sometimes, "Here's a book. I'll sign it. Go on Amazon, buy a copy. That way I'll pretty much get my money back. I'll be square, and then give that book away to someone, and maybe they'll be interested and buy the rest of the books." So yeah, I always keep a couple of each in the trunk, and fun way to give books out sometimes. So,
well, if you ever find yourself in the state of Maryland, because if I remember correctly, you're not too far from us, are you? Aren't you in VA? Aren't you in Virginia?
No, I'm in Western North Carolina, so I do make it up to Virginia sometimes. I have friends.
I was gonna say,
yeah, I've been to Maryland. I went up 81 a month ago, driving my daughter. Went to Connecticut, so I snuck up 81 when all the fires were going on in Canada, all the smoke you could going all across the highway.
I was gonna say, we had a bit of a situation here at that point, didn't we?
That was kind of so yeah. We went up and visited family. I went to Fenway, had a fun time.
There you go.
Years, so I grew up going to Fenway. I grew up in Connecticut, so
that's Fenway's the one with the big green wall out in left field. Yeah, I sitting on it?
Green Monster. Get the great Green Monster. Come
on.
Sorry.
Come
on, Ryan.
Sorry. The first time I heard about, one of the first times, because I've heard about it beforehand, don't get me wrong, but one of the first times I ever heard about Fenway was in that indie film called Field of Dreams, one of the greatest movies of all time.
Very good movie.
Because she says, "Isn't Fenway the one with that big green wall out in left field?" And then Costner looks at her and says, "Yeah, I had a dream last night you were with Terrence Mann." Because I on the first base side. Yeah, about halfway up, and I was having a hot dog. I had the same dream. All right, I'll go help you pack. You got to go find Terrence Mann. Field of Dreams is one of the greatest of all time. That's in my top 10. It has to be. Because if you build it, he will come, Eric. He will. Everyone butchers the line by saying, they will come or it will come. Right. No, it's he will come. You got to get the line right, guys. Come on.
You have to get the line right. Yeah, another great. Kevin Costner has been in so many good movies.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. He's a beast. You know what I just saw for the first time a couple months ago? Open Range with him and Duvall. Remember that one? Robert Duvall.
I know what it is, and I'm trying in my brain remember, did I actually see it or not? I don't know.
Open Range. Well, it came out in 2003, 2004, I want to say. It was early 2000. Annette Bening was in it.
Yeah, I think I did see it. You're talking 20 years ago. I've had a lot of life experiences.
A lot has happened in the last 20 years since, Open Range is good, man. It's a great Western. If you haven't seen it in a while, and if you have, which I know is easier said than done in this world, but if you have any time, go and watch a good Western known as Open Range.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there in case anyone's wondering what they want to watch for the next, tonight or two here on a part of And I Quote. Don't forget to like and share if you're watching this live on a replay. Thank you for doing so. Greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions to the guest of honor, and I do mean guest of honor, Eric P. Bishop, the man of the hour. Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Who would you say is an author, living or dead, you want to have a conversation with, and why?
Ooh, living or dead author I'd like to have a conversation with.
Yes, anybody.
I'd probably want to talk to Vince Flynn, honestly. For the dead, which is sad that he died, man,
right?
54 maybe. Yeah, probably Vince, because he just. Again, it's kind of weird. That's the neat thing about reading is you end up kind of at least thinking you know someone from their writing style, and you kind of, you feel like you know them. But you don't know him. You never met him. You never interacted with him. The closest I got for Vince is, and I have it.
Where is that?
I have Transfer of Power.
Oh, there it is.
I don't normally have good things to say about my ex because, my ex and bad situation. Well, we were married at the time and she's like, I got you a book. And, oh, okay, great. Got me a book. And she hands me the book and I'm opening it. I'm like, oh, Transfer of Power. That's one of my favorites. And I open it up and I'm like, oh, it's signed. It's signed like old school, which how he used to sign it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, here's the story behind it. She paid $0.25 for it at like Goodwill or whatever. One of the stores.
Are you serious?
It's a legit. I had it checked. It's
wow.
signature, and it was one of those finds where it's like, so I pulled it out a few times, like, look at this. And I've never told people where I got, or I've told a few, but yeah, probably Vince. And the other person that I probably was alive, which I don't know if you can call him, you can call him a writer, probably a coach writer, is I've always been a massive U2 fan. Bucket list, I have lots of dreams in my head. Bono's one of those people, if I ever could break bread with someone and just sit down and talk and have a heart-to-heart, man-to-man conversation, Bono would be my guy, man. As liberal as he can be about stuff that I'm like, dude, you can't say anti-gun stuff and have security. You know, you look hypocritical. But I take the good and the bad with him because I grew up. That was like, I took my son to his first concert. It was the Joshua 30th anniversary.
Oh, no kidding.
Louisville. I drove him up to Louisville, Kentucky. We went and saw U2. Like that was 9 years ago. I took him to the Sphere. We had floor tickets at the Sphere to watch U2 at the Sphere, which I've seen a lot of concerts. I'm friends with some bands. I know some people. The greatest thing I've ever seen in my life was U2 at the Sphere. And like nothing even comes in the top 10. That is the top 10. It was so, and Joshua Tree was like amazing experience, but U2 at the Sphere was beyond incredible. It was just not, you can't compare anything to it. And then, we're at the show and we had got there, we'd gone to Vegas, just took my son, he's 16 at the time, he's 19 now. And you had to line up in the morning to kind of get your number of when to come back later. And they would they would number you in to go into the Sphere. And so we got up, early. We're in line at like 6 o'clock or whatever, early. And they said you can't spend the night overnight. So I'm like, okay, we'll just get there really early and we'll be good. We were number 86 and 87, I believe. I think it was 86 and 87. So there was that many people. So some people spent the night, which I was like, you buttholes. I wasn't pleased with them, but whatever. So we get there, we get our number. Okay, come back at 6 o'clock and you can go in that order. And, they literally lined you up by numeric order and they just 1, 2, 3, 4, they scan your tickets and you ran in to get where you want. Well, we met a guy in the line because we were talking about like, where should we go? And like, well, we're going to be too late to get like front, center, rail. So I'll go to like left side. I'll go to the edges side of the stage. And that way we can still be on the rail. We can be close. And we met this guy, Tall John, who was I'm short. This guy was like way tall. And he's like, no. You want to be in the center. Even if you're three, he goes, I just saw him a couple weeks back. Even if you're 3 people back, you want to be center. So, okay, Tall John, we'll listen. So we get in there, 2 hours to kill before the show. So you're just kind of just chilling, sitting on the floor. Show starts, freaking incredible. Until the End of the World comes on. Bono comes down off the stage and lays back in the crowd. And my son reaches up and grabs Bono's arm. And he turns around and he goes, I touched Bono. And I'm like, little shit, I paid for this weekend. How do you get to touch Bono's arm? I didn't get to touch Bono's arm. What's going on here? But proud dad moment of like, we still talk about that concert like 3 years later on a regular basis.
Oh, you do?
U2 at the Sphere. It was like,
wow,
iconic. And we've seen since then like AC/DC and all these bands and all these shows, Bon Jovi. No, U2 at the Sphere was like insanely incredible experience. So so I'd want to talk about Bono. Long answer to say Bono.
No, it's okay. So in other words, it was a beautiful day. Sorry. When I think of YouTube, it's as a millennial, that's one of the first things I think of is Beautiful Day, because they played that song so hard on the radio at the time. They played it on, and there was also a part, I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, they played it a lot during a promotional segment on WWE Monday Night Raw. So,
I didn't know that.
Because I grew up watching pro wrestling, so I'm a pro wrestling guy. I'm former. Now I don't watch it anymore, but years and years ago, I was a pro wrestling guy. So when they had a tribute
Saturday mornings, I was too. Back in the Hulk era, and Randy.
The Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, the Bret Hart, all that kind of jazz, right? I hear what you're saying. Believe me, I do. I mean, Macho Man cut some of the best promos of all time. The cream of the crop, Anyway, so I remember listening to U2's Beautiful Day because they were doing a segment on Triple H recovering from a quadricep injury that he suffered, during one of his matches, and it was Beautiful Day, and I was like, "Who is this band?" And then they reveal who it was at the end of the promotional material, the segment, and it says U2 Beautiful Day, their new album, blah 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 blah, available now in CD stores everywhere. Yeah, CDs, guys, CDs. Jeez. And I remember going to, what was it? It was either Record Masters or Sam Goody or Suncoast, if anybody remembers those businesses.
In the malls.
Yeah, that's when malls were a thing. Malls aren't a thing anymore. They haven't been a thing for a very, very long, which is very unfortunate, by the way, because I miss going to the malls with my friends and just hang. I mean, back in the day when we were kids, we would hang out, play at the arcades, go to the clothing stores, go to get stickers. We we would go to the movie theaters, right? They would go to the movie theater, we see a movie, and we grab a slice of pizza at the end of the night. It was the best. It was the most. It was a very innocent, easier time, my lads. It really, really was, and it's not around anymore. It's sad and it's depressing, is what it is. I mean, honestly, nothing would please me more than to visit the Twin Pines Mall, or actually, it's called Lone Pine Mall, if you remember the scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not Twin anymore. I would do anything just to visit that, because they do a festival with the movie. They show it at the mall where every single, like every year. And I'm like, if I could do something before I croak, also known as the bucket list for those of you watching this at home, I would want to fly out to California, or wherever it is in California, and be there when they do the festival for Back to the Future. Because
I'll go. I need a couple years because I got a couple more things on the bucket list before, but I'll go because it's on mine as well. So ping me.
So Eric and I and his family's going to want in on this. The son and the daughter. Are your kids going to want in on this?
I don't know about my daughter. Maybe she likes Back to the Future, but I don't know.
Maybe not the kids. We don't know.
And I got to pay for theirs too. I don't know, man. I've taken them all over the country. Yellowstone, Yosemite, Vegas. I mean,
true. Let them. Yeah.
I told him this year, like my son's in his own world now. He's got a girlfriend in college, all that.
Yeah.
But he's coming home for the summer, and I'm like, because he's like, what's going on this summer? And I'm like, I don't know. Aren't you working? Yeah, I'm working. Family trip. I was like, yeah, we might go to Connecticut. Well, we're not like big family trip. I'm like, I'm going to be 50 in November, and I literally haven't had 2 weeks off work since my daughter was born. I said, I'm going to be a little selfish, and I'm taking myself and Uncle Andrew. It was my roommate from college, only single guy I knew that travels. I'm like, hey, I call him that. Hey, we're going to be 50 next year. You want to do something cool? He's like, yeah, where do you want to go? I was like, I want to go to New Zealand, Australia. He's like, I'll put money away for it. Cool, let's go. So I told the kids, I was like, me and Uncle Andrew we're both going to be 50. We're doing a bucket list trip. Sorry, no family vacation this year. It's about I pay for them anyways, so I'm taking care of myself this year. And they seemed okay with that, although they probably, made snide remarks behind my back. But I don't care. I don't care.
Hey, it's all good. Not only that, the franchise itself, Lord of the Rings turns 25 in December, with Fellowship turning 25. So, by the way,
they're filming right now the Search for Gollum. They're filming it in New Zealand now. They started filming it in June or July. So, because I was like, they better not shut down the Shire, man. Because I got
better not.
Oh, they're gonna arrest me when I go on set.
Yeah, because I was gonna say Eric has plans, guys. Eric has plans. Eric and Uncle Andrew over there have plans. Do not disrupt the plan, son.
Don't.
Don't disrupt the plan. No, don't disrupt the plan. Yeah, and my friends and I, we're actually going to be doing the 25th anniversary of Fellowship of the Ring, but we're actually going to be watching the extended cut.
That's the one you have to watch.
Fellowship of the Ring, because I looked at my friend Case, who's overseas, and he's actually the one who designed the overlays and the backgrounds and the thumbnail that I presented to you in the emails. That's all him. Nice. Yeah, Case is my graphic designer, and he has a YouTube channel called The Dutch Star Wars Guy, because he's a diehard Star Wars fan. But he also has a separate channel called The Dutch McLaren Guy, because he likes Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3, McLaren racing, that kind of deal. And yeah, he was like, yeah, I want to do Lord of the Rings because I'm a massive Lord of the Rings. I said, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to do the extended cuts. It's like, oh boy, you do realize that we're going to be sitting in a chair for like 4 hours, right? He's like, yeah, but I want to do it because it's one of my all-time favorite franchises. I was like, oh, okay. So I
realized when I get on a plane in JFK in a couple of weeks, I could watch all 3 extended versions and still be in the plane before I land in Auckland. 17.5-hour direct flight.
Ooh. Yeah,
I don't like aisle seats. I got an aisle seat for that one because I said every couple hours I'm getting up and walking up and down because I'm not like 17.5 hours. I'm not just getting up to go to the bathroom a few times and curl in the corner next to the window to see the ocean for 15 of the hours. I don't think so.
You're not doing that. Okay. Yeah. Which, by the way, is completely fair. There is nothing wrong, but that's cool. You're going to be able to watch all 3 movies while you're still in midair. So
I better sleep. That's the goal, is to get some sleep. We were booking some stuff this morning. We hadn't booked everything, and I was talking to my buddy Andrew, and I said, "You realize we're landing at like 4 a.m. in Auckland? So we're leaving Charlotte, North Carolina Saturday. We have a long layover. They switched our flight, so we have an extended layover in JFK for like
that's crazy
hours." And then we get on the plane at like 9 p.m. on a Saturday. We land at 4 a.m. in New Zealand on Monday. Now, 17.5 hours plus all the 17 hour time difference, whatever the time difference is, gives you that window. But it's like, we're literally losing an entire day of our life is disappearing. That's doesn't, so we're going to be not knowing what time it is when we land. And then, it's going to be interesting. We'll both stay. We agreed. Get a hotel on the harbor, maybe go for a boat ride, a couple things in Auckland I'd like to see, but like we stay up all day and just make sure we're exhausted. So that first night there, we get on some sleep schedule. We'll see.
Gee willikers. That's going to be one heck of a Where on Earth is Eric P. Bishop episode.
Well, I've done 10.5-hour flight is my longest. I've never done anything over that. I've been to Europe a lot of times or a bunch of times, but never Asia in that direction.
Never. No.
Looking forward to it.
In a fictional sense, I remember hearing Chris Tucker saying that when they were filming the Rush Hour movies, at the end of the first one where he says he's going to fly over with Lee and go to his neck of the woods, he looked at him, he says, how long is this flight? 15 hours? 15 hours? What the hell are we supposed to do for 15 hours? And he's like, I don't know, just do something.
And Jackie starts singing.
Yeah, what it is. Anyway, I love that song too.
That's actually a movie I've watched a lot of times over the years.
Yeah, it's a good movie. To me, it's a fun movie. It's a fun movie. You could sit back, relax, turn your brain off, whatever. It's just, and the chemistry between the two leads, I think, is really good too. So I don't have a problem with Tucker and who was Jackie Chan. I don't have any issue with that. I mean, I grew up watching Jackie Chan's First Strike, Rumble in the Bronx, Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3, but 3 never happened. Because it wasn't that good. I'm sorry, but there were just some films and some franchises that are hashtag not canon, right? Or hashtag never happened.
I think I've seen it one time. I have 1 and 2 across from me in the DVD collection. I don't have the third one. I watched it one time and I was like, okay, we're good. Never have to watch that one again. I don't know if I finished it. I think I did, but yeah.
You can mark that one off your what do you call it? What's it called? The checklist, and then just go about your day. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it happens.
It's not so good, but I heard a rumor they're trying to make a Rush Hour 4 like 25 years later, which good luck doing that with how old these guys are.
I heard that as well. So yeah, like they're doing a new Oceans movie. They're doing Oceans, I guess 14.
14, was it Clooney, Pitt? What is it? Clooney, Pitt, Damon, Don Cheadle, James Caan, I think was it? No, not James. The other guy, his son, Scott. Scott Caan was in it. Ben Affleck's little brother Casey.
Yep.
It's supposed to come back. I heard rumored.
Like and Bernie Mac's dead. I think is Elliot Gould still alive?
I think he passed away too.
I think he died too. Yeah, so they're definitely
they lost some people.
Yeah,
they lost some people.
That's been a long time since they filmed the first one. It's got to be at least 20 years since the first one. Actually,
they just did it 25th because it came out in 2001.
25th. Okay,
yeah, which is a fun movie by the way. You think we need one more? All right. We'll get one more. Speaking of one more, I am curious though. Did you hear they're going to make another Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz coming back after all these years?
I did not hear that. No.
Yeah, they're going to make it. It's coming out next October of 2027.
Okay.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser's hitting the weights. He's getting in shape. Rachel Weisz, I heard, is getting
weight after the whale.
Mm-hmm. Well, I heard Brendan's going to be hitting the weights. Rachel Weisz is going to be getting in shape. Oded Fehr is coming back after all these years as Ardith Bay, and he's hitting the weights. So it's like, wow, these people at their age, they're going to be hitting the gym pretty hard because they're going to try to get in the best shape that they can when they're filming this bad boy, because it's not going to be an easy thing to make a movie, 25 years after the last one? So
yeah, this isn't Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise can do it, up until he'll be 90 and still be like, dude, he still looks like he's 65. What the heck, but
that was actually a good point. We did a double feature, or not a double feature, but the movie theater had the 40th anniversary of Top Gun this year, and my brother and I, he wanted to see Top Gun on the big screen because we never saw it. So we've seen the movie, we just never saw it on the big screen. So Kevin and I went to see Top Gun one night, and then I think a night or two later, we went to see Top Gun Maverick because they were showing both of them.
Yeah,
and there were limited edition posters for the 40th anniversary, so we made sure to snag those.
Nice.
And Kevin looked at me, he's like, I am so happy that you and I got a chance to do this. And then he just texted me the other day and he says, do you have any idea how excited I am that me, you, and Greg is our oldest brother. Me, you, and Greg are going to be going to the theaters next year for the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. Like, that's a big deal. That's huge. And also, because we did it in the 90s when they re-released them as the special editions in 1997, mind you, my family took my brothers and I to see them in the theater. So that was a great theater-going family experience. Unfortunately, our mom and dads are no longer with us.
Okay.
But they're going to be with us when we go to see Star Wars next year for its 50th because, as they say in movieology, they're just one with the Force. They're Force ghosts. So
nice.
Which is, I think that's going to be a nice thing to treasure, so we'll see where the chips fall where they may. Aside from the authors who are living or dead, what are 3 fictional books that belong on everyone's bookshelf that are not something that you've published?
Ooh, 3 fictional books.
Mm-hmm.
You put me on the spot here. Probably a Tale of Two Cities. So I'm gonna end up going really old school with stuff, probably like modern stuff. Not that there's not good, but nothing kind of jumps out. I'm partial to the complete works of Shakespeare. I have it down.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's actually I've got the hard copy. I've got a really nice version of it too.
Whoa, yeah. that is thick.
Not what you would expect probably me to say. And probably the Count of Monte Cristo. Probably like again, I really am going old school with all that probably, but I don't know. There's something about maybe because I'm writing thrillers now when I think of like what are the things that kind of and you wouldn't look at those books and say, well, those will motivate you to write necessarily. Maybe Count of Monte Cristo, you might say that would motivate you to write a thriller. Shakespeare, you probably wouldn't. But I think because they were things I read when I was younger, that kind of always kind of stuck with me, like the way Dickens said things and the way Dumas said things. Just, I don't know, those kind of, Victor Hugo, Les Mis. That's I remember the first time I read that, the unabridged version, which that's down there too as well. It's right here actually. It's the paperback actually. I think my ex might took the hardcover. So holy crap, that thing is like 3.5 inches thick. So I have like a bunch of classics on the bottom shelf, which they should be higher up probably. But I got my Vince Flynn. So Vince Flynn is down here. My Clancy goes on the top. So Clancy goes on the top, and then some of the other shelves I got like Brad Meltzer is a really good guy. I've been fortunate to meet him several times, and he was probably like the first well-known successful author that I reached out to that actually. Not actually gave me the time of day and has continued to like just help and be motivational, and don't interact with him often. But when I do, like if I text him or I email him or whatever, he gets back to me if I have a question. Or my son, when he graduated high school, Brad sent him, I asked him, but he sent him a video because I was doing like a video collage there at the end of graduation. And like Jack Carr sent a video, Brad Meltzer sent a video, Eric Bass from Shinedown, who my son loves, Eric sent in a video. So I was able to get like family stuff members that weren't there. And then also some like favorite authors and stuff were kind enough to send me a video to congratulate him on graduating. So yeah, pretty cool experience.
Really cool. You're speaking of sandwiches here. Look at the sandwich. You see the sandwich? Look how big the sandwich. This is the Count of Monte Cristo, the unabridged version from Penguin Classics that I got at your friendly neighborhood Barnes & Noble a couple weeks ago. And let me tell you, I've seen sandwiches, but this is probably the biggest, if not one of the second biggest sandwich I've ever seen in my freaking life. But here's the reason I bought this. One, because I grew up watching the different adaptations of the Three Musketeers. So that's Alexander Dumas. Same guy, same writer. Yeah. I've seen the 90s version of The Man in the Iron Mask with Leo DiCaprio and John Malkovich and Jeremy Irons. By the way, Jeremy Irons is a freaking master. And Terrence Mayhew has said numerous times that one of his favorite books, if not his favorite book, is The Count of Monte Cristo. And I said, why is that, Terrence? Explain to me why you like this big, thick sandwich so much. And he says, because it's well written. It's well written. It encourages me to continue writing, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, maybe I should look into this. And then I sent him a picture of this edition that I have of it. And he was overjoyed. He was like, enjoy the ride, man. It is going to take you a while, though. I said, yeah, you think? Look how big this thing is. You have any idea how long this is going to take me? This may take me 10 years to read this book, maybe 20, but because it's so thick. But looking forward to reading it at some point, right? And the other thing is I've seen the 2000s version of the movie adaptation, The Count of Monte Cristo, with Jim Caviezel, Guy Pearce. And by the way, Henry Cavill's in that movie. So long before he was Superman, he was the son of Jim Caviezel and his, lady friend, the female love interest's character. I'm like, yowza. Like, that's Henry Cavill. That's Cavill. And I freaking love Henry Cavill. I will support that man until my dying breath. Because to me, nothing against Christopher Reeve. I have all respect to Christopher Reeve. I prefer Henry Cavill's iteration to Christopher Reeve. And that's nothing against Christopher. It's nothing against
I understand. I can see that. He did such a good job. I was going to say one thing about Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I said this publicly on a podcast before. I've hollowed out a copy one time. So only been married one time, only got engaged one time, lived out in Colorado at the time. That was like the first book my ex-wife had read to me. So that was my way of being romantic, was I got the hardcover version of it, literally with an X-Acto pen knife thing, hollowed out the book, and then had to like glue pages so you couldn't tell, hid the ring box in there, got a nice box to put the book in. And that's how I proposed at out in Colorado, actually, was with that book. So yeah, so a pleasant memory in that experience to, I mean, that was, shoot, what year was that? 2000, I don't know, 2, 3, I don't know. That's all fuzzy part of my life. I think I deleted a bunch of files from there, but I think 2002. Tell you what, a lot of flipping work to hollow out a book if you're just like using, I had like a template. I built a template, go open the page,
yeah.
do it the next one. And you could do multiple, but you couldn't do very many. Not like, I could do 50 pages at a time. You couldn't do it like that, or it got ugly, because it was literally pretty darn good where it was smooth going down. And I put some effort into that. So, and look where
yeah, I mean, I was gonna say life happens. Some people don't get that fairy tale happily ever after ending to a point. So
no, but you don't. But at the same time, I think before I went through all those experiences, I really did see the glass is half empty. Where now my experience is the glass is half full, and so much of life is your perspective on it. Not saying bad things don't happen, not saying that people develop cancer and people die, and just shit happens. That's life. It happens. How do you respond to that stuff that happened? If your existence continues on, your attitude, how you respond to it, what you then do to get yourself up if you fall, that's the journey. Then that's the attitude you keep when that's going on, makes a huge difference. And I didn't always have that, so I'm not saying, and I'm the shining example of how to do that. No, I went through years where I was just not handling things the right way. But at some point you have to pivot, and some point you have to realize, hey, I can stay on this path, but this path doesn't lead to healing. It doesn't lead to joy, happiness, or anything like that. You have to actually transition your thought processes on stuff. And when you do, I think it opens up a lot of things. So as much as I might joke and make a negative comment here and there, life has a lot of positives that you can focus on, and focusing on the negatives doesn't fix them at all.
No, he's, there you go. In the words of that PSA we remember as kids, the more you know. Anyway, I know, right? You remember that jingle. But then again, who doesn't? No, honestly. No, I agree with you. I mean, as someone who's pushing the big 4-0 next year, I'll be the big 4-0. So, there is that coming up.
I got you by a decade. I'm not looking forward to 50, but 40 sucked. So early 40s when I went through divorce and separation, all that. I forget what year it was now, when it all, but it was earlier 40s. 45 and on it was excellent. I'm about 5 years into my journey here. 50, I'm not excited about, but I've heard a lot of friends that are already there. Like, no, 50 is great. And I'm like, you better be right, because 40 kind of sucked. So again, I think your perspective makes a huge difference. Because and I tell this I say it in the books, I say it to my kids. Life's a gift. It depends on how you receive that gift, and a lot of it is what you do with it. All these external forces are happening, and you can't control really almost any of that. You can control how you accept life and what you do with it for yourself.
That's very true, man. This is a deep philosophical discussion. I'm loving this.
My novels might not be deep, but some of my advice sometimes.
It's Saturday night. We got two good people here just hanging out, having a good time on A&I Quote. Don't forget to like and share if you have any questions for our sanity or philosophy on life and how to get through it, or how to journey through it, I guess. Let us know in the comments in the chat. Yeah, you're talking to somebody who's pushing 4-0 next year. I've lost both parents, unfortunately. My brothers and I have lost both parents. But you know what? We got each other. We have good sisters-in-laws. We have good. I have a niece and nephew who are fantastic. I have a great community of people I can go to when I need advice on my writing and my storytelling and my podcasting. I have people I can go to for that. And it's, it hasn't been, like you said, life can kick you in the teeth and throw you so many massive curveballs, but it's all about how you respond to those curveballs and how you carry yourself, I guess, in a way moving forward. Because like our good friend Rocky says, it's not about how hard you hit, It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. So, his memoirs are coming out later this year, Sylvester Stallone. I don't know if you heard that news or not, but it's called The Steps. The Steps is coming out. And I immediately when he said this is Sylvester Stallone talking on social media. And by the way, this is on social media. This isn't exactly breaking news. It's been out for a while. My friend and I were in Philadelphia for a Comic-Con, and we actually went to the art museum where the statue is. Yeah. And I ran softly, but I softly ran the steps because I'm not as young as I once was, Eric, I'm sorry to say. But I ran the steps, got to the top. There were a bunch of families standing around the statue with their cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Taking pictures with their families or loved ones and all that kind of jazz. I said, oh, man, there's a line here. How long do you think it's going to be? It's probably only going to be like 5 minutes. They're pretty quick about this stuff. I'm like, are you sure? Because he's definitely around the towners, man. He's like, but we got through it. So there's a picture of me in front of the Rocky statue doing this. There's a picture of Jeff and I doing it, and it was a great. Jeff is one of my best friends, and it was a great, brotherly, great experience. And the other thing is, I've come to appreciate the Rocky franchise more so now than I did a couple years ago because it really hits you, man. It really does. So we're going to be doing a watch along for Rocky Balboa, which is Rocky 6, because that came out in 2006. So that's turning 20 this year, Eric, in case you were wondering. So we're going to be doing a watch along for that. And that movie is so good. And that's where we got that speech. It's not about how hard you hit and so and so and so and so. So it's, hey, anyone who's anybody knows I've been through the ringer, but I'm still here. And I got my podcast. And this podcast I've been doing for 6 years. I've got over 2,200 subscribers on this channel. Hundreds of views on different videos, thousands of views on others, and it's beautiful. It's great. Mm-hmm. And every time I do this show, which particularly the one we're doing right now, which is And I Quote, I get to meet new people every week like Eric P. Bishop. And that to me is a gift. Yeah. That to me is a gift. And that is something that it is better to give than receive. But I'm happy to receive this gift of sitting with these incredible creative people such as Eric P. Bishop and everyone else we've had a chance to talk to over the years and say, you know what? I'm a very small piece of this earth, but if we come together as a community, as a human race, in the words of Jack, we can either live together or we're going to die alone. So, sorry, I'm pulling out a Lost quote, but my brothers got me into that show when I was younger, so it happens. But no, man, this episode, I got to tell you, has been immensely awesome. You're an incredible, fascinating individual who's got stories for days.
I do have a Philly. So if anyone gets a copy of Drexel, which is the last one to come out in the Omega, so you're on finished Ransom Daughter.
I did.
Rise comes next. Well, Drexel is actually the backstory for Troy Evans. It's
is it?
And it starts off in Philadelphia. There's actually something's being delivered down
in Philadelphia.
The bell. I'll put it that way. And there's it's a very long sequence, actually. I cut it down and it still is long. But so I've been to Philly a bunch of times. I've actually never done the steps. It's always one of those things I'm like, I got to remember to do it. And then I end up not doing it. It's been a couple of years. I took the kids for Father's Day. We were going to visit family. But so Philly, definitely a special place. And Gino's and Pat's are not the places to go for steak. Sorry. There's much better places, but I've had them from there because, you have to. But very cool. But again, that's one of the things I try to do is and I can't always do it, but as much as I can, if I can take locations and put them into stories. Like for Downfall, I made a deal with myself after the divorce, couple deals. One of them is you leave the country once a year, go somewhere you've never been before. And so last year ended up being busy. I took the kids to Yellowstone and I was like, well, I got to get out of here at some point. So I reached out to a buddy because he had said, hey, next time you travel international, I'd like to go with you. I said, okay, cool. I'll let you know. And a couple months out, I said, hey, I found a really good deal to Barcelona. I've never been to Spain. You want to go? Like, yeah, I'll go. So I wait several weeks. I buy my ticket because I'm like, okay, I'll just tell him the flight number. And if he wants to join me, he can join me. So I give him the information. He ends up having a passport issue. Can't go. Went by myself. So I fly to Barcelona. First time I ever left the country and went to a non-English speaking country by myself. Little intimidating. Happened to get there and realize that there's more people that speak English there than my Walmart attendants down the road from me. So, hey, I'm okay. No problem. But I'm there without knowing what I'm going to do. Well, before I went, one of my writer friends was like, hey, you need to go to Girona. That's where they film some Game of Thrones. You need to go up the coast. You need to do these things. So I book a day trip one of the days, and we take a boat ride up the Mediterranean to this little walled town called Tossa de Mar. I don't know anything about Tossa de Mar. All I know is when we pulled the boat into the inlet and you look up, there's this walled portion of the city with a turret and everything. And I'm like, this is going in downfall. Somehow this is going in downfall. So I did. And I get there, that they let us off the boat. We have like 3-4 hours in the, to roam around before the boat leaves. So I take this windy trail to the top of the hill there in the walled area. And there is a statue. Well, this is an interesting statue. Who the heck is this? Well, there's a plaque there. It's Ava Gardner. So I start reading about it. Well, Ava Gardner was filming a movie right in that area, during the golden age of Hollywood, having a torrid affair with Frank Sinatra, who's married at the time. And as I'm reading this stuff going, oh, this is definitely got to go in the book. So I didn't know how I was going to do it until I got back. But when I got back, I realized I have to put a former body man in Tossa de Mar. I have to have a kidnapping scene take place in these. So I walked all the streets, took videos, pictures, kind of envisioned what's there. And then when I got back, I replayed it all in my head. And it's like, okay, set it here, put the statue in there, put this in there. And to me, that's the fun part. That's the juice of it. Like getting to go to places and then put them in a story. Also good for tax write-offs too, because you've really done book research. So, hey, thank you, IRS. Screw you. So, but legit, it's in the book. Australia, New Zealand will be in the book. Hint, hint, coming forward here, because I'm going there next month. But I think when I can go to places and I can have those experiences, which I know are blessings. I know not everyone gets to travel. I think it helps the authenticity of the story. And most of the time when I do it, I don't know how I'm going to include it. And I just figure if I go. And like I said, I had no idea. I thought Sagrada Familia, which is a real famous church in Barcelona, that was going to be my set point before I went.
Right.
It was not. It was mentioned in the book. One of the characters is in Barcelona. And actually, there's a scene that takes place. There's a arena that used to be a bullfighting arena that they converted into a mall years later. And on the top of the arena, top of the mall, is all restaurants up there. So I was up there one night. It was close to my hotel. Again, I don't know anyone. I'm by myself. So I'm trying to be smart about where I go and what I do. I'm walking around that one night, and I see this Italian restaurant. I'm like, well, that looks really good menu. But I'm in Spain. Well, I had Spanish dinners every night. And they were okay, but they were mid. I've eaten really nice places in my life. I've been fortunate. So last night, I go to this Italian restaurant. Like, top 10 meal of my life. Like, so freaking good. So I had to put characters when I wrote the scenes when they're in Barcelona before Tossa de Mar factors in. They go to that restaurant. They have that same meal. They experience that same stuff. And if whenever I go back and read these stories years later, it'll be a trigger to me of like, oh yeah, I remember that. that pasta dish. Oh, it was so freaking good. I mean, and I even said that when I come back, people are like, well, how was the food? I'm like, the gelato, the creme brulee gelato in Girona was the best of my life. They're like, you're in Spain. I'm like, the gelato was amazing. And then the Italian dinner the last night was amazing. And they're like, did you have paella? Did you have this, have that? Like, oh yeah, I tried these other things too. But no, that was the meal. That was the experience. So
jeez, that man, once again, this is an amazing person with amazing stories, isn't he? Or amazing upcoming stories. So just out of curiosity, you don't have to give too much away, but I'm just curious, where do we see the Omega Group series going, and where's the Body Man series? Do you have a specific number of installments you're going to put into these series, or you're just kind of going with it and seeing where it goes and let the characters kind of dictate how many books are going to be in each series respectively?
No set plans. So when I originally started the Omega Group, which was really just started as the Troy Evans series, I had a plan for 7 books. I did 3. So I have 4 more books kind of not outlined, literally like a 3-paragraph write-up on each. So I have like more where I could go because people have only read 1 of those 7. I have 2 more done, and I might pilfer them for future books. But what I did for Ransom Daughter and Babylon Will Rise were not part of the books. They were add-on stuff I wrote. I turned them into books. So I probably will stick to writing a bunch more of the Omega Group. They don't sell as well as the Body Man series. So they're more passion projects. The Body Man series sells a lot better. So they're passion as well as profitable. put out, which I do look at it from a business standpoint, but I'll probably still keep writing the Omega Group series, even if it's just a break-even series, because I enjoy those characters. Body Man, I know I'm doing, so fourth one's out, Downfall now. The fifth one is already started. I put it aside because I'm writing this high concept thriller that I'm going to try to go traditional with. We were talking about offline. But I know what the fifth Body Man book will be about. It is a book that the minor characters step in. So spoiler alert for everyone, Eli and Kat are heavy hitters in book 5. It's about them. Body Man will be there as well. And probably a good chance the Body Man will be in New Zealand or Australia for part of it. So I might do what I did with Supreme Justice and Downfall. Those 2 books were in the same timeline. They were happening at the same time. I might do that with book 5 and 6. So book 5 will focus on Eli and Kat in this particular investigation that I've started to write. And then I think the Body Man will probably be overseas assisting with that and doing something else. And then book 6, I guess at that point would then be the full reveal of what was happening with the Body Man overseas. And I might do it that way. I haven't decided. I've got a couple other ideas, some other stuff. I'm doing an anthology. I'm not doing it. I'm contributing to an anthology I have to write this fall as well. I'll probably do that in the plane. I've already kind of figured that one out. In short writing, I can do it in a couple hours. I just enjoy the creative side. So I don't have a set like, okay, we're done at book 7, we're done at book 10. I don't want to overstay my welcome. Like, I don't want to write a series just because I have to write a series. I want to write a series because I'm believing in what I'm writing. So the Body Man might have a endpoint. I just don't know where that is yet. There's also a lot of other things I'd like to dive into, and I'm pushing 50. So how many more writing years do I have? I plan to have decades to write, but I probably don't have 50 more years to write. So I don't want to think to myself, well, I've got to get 30 Body Man books out before I, kick the bucket. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I've got 4 out. I'm proud of that. I plan to have more. We'll just see what life throws at me.
Definitely. Well, I do want to say congratulations on the release of book 4, the Downfall. Congrats. I'm very happy for you. It's fantastic. The cover is definitely, never judge a book. We always judge a book by the cover because it's what sells, guys. It's what sells.
Yeah, you have to.
The cover is freaking amazing. So congrats to everybody involved in that. I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Eric B. Bishop for being our guest on this week's episode of And I Quote. Eric, you are a gentleman, a scholar, and just a fountain of not just knowledge, but incredible stories to tell us, whether it's in your real life or in the fictional universe that you have up, going on in the world right now. So if someone wants to know more about you, purchase copies of your books, maybe directly from you and all that good stuff, or maybe catch, some of the travels that you have coming up, where can they follow you on social media to keep up to date with all your projects?
That cool website you pulled up earlier that they designed for me, my buddy designed, ericpbishop.com, is probably the best way to get to me because all the links for social media work off that as well. But probably spend most of my time on, I try to go as limited, I say limited, but it's not limited, but X, Instagram, and I go to Facebook, but Facebook, I don't know, Facebook's Facebook. Threads, I have a Threads account. A lot of stuff just pushes to Threads. I don't get much interaction on Threads, so I don't spend much time there. So probably X and Instagram. EPB author, I think, is my X and my Instagram. And then Eric P. Bishop author, I think, is Facebook. But if they go to ericpbishop.com, all the links work to social media. And then my email's on there, eric@ericpbishop.com. If people want to send me snide remarks or nice things or whatever things or questions, I'm always, I'll answer every question that comes my way via email. So.
Ooh, yeah, baby. Fantastic. Well, thank you, sir, for being with us. I'm going to talk to you here again momentarily. So don't go away because I still got a few more things I want to talk to you about off camera here on this wonderful Saturday that we're doing this live. Where am I going with this? My words are weird. But anyway, I'm a writer. What am I supposed to do? Make this perfect? I'm not perfect. All I can tell you is that my name is Ryan. You can follow me across all forms of social media at And I Quote channel. Check us out on all forms. And I Quote is on Saturdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Movie watch-alongs are on Friday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Help us reach 1,000 followers on the Instagram page because once we do, we're going to have a great giveaway. And I will create a separate post detailing what we're going to be doing for those giveaways. So check that out. Help us reach 1,000 followers on our Instagram page. Links are in the description. We also have a Redbubble store where everything is on sale: hoodies, shirts, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and stickers you can add to your water bottles are all available. They are on sale. My short story, Wolf of the West, is a part of Western Tales Volume 1, published by our good friends at Veritas Entertainment. It is available on Amazon in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. So links, once again, are in the description of this video to check it out. Links to where you can follow Eric P. Bishop, as he pointed out earlier, are located in the description as well. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of And I Quote. This has been an honor and a pleasure to be here and interview these wonderful people and take your questions as we're going throughout the course of these proceedings. And do not forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when the videos go up or to go live. Remember, life is better when supporting indie creators from all over the world. Take a look.
A mission for the police. A mysterious passenger. Mitch Mayhew is carrying more than the mail this flight. Unwanted Passenger is a roaring, prop-spinning, pulse-pounding historical thriller for fans of aerial stunts, flapper-era intrigue, and reluctant heroes with debts to pay and demons to outrun. Order your copy of Unwanted Passenger today.
Good morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.